The issue of whether to legalize the numbers business, web shops, and or to create a national lottery is a complex matter involving a complicated web of cultural, political, economic, and religious considerations. Almost every sector of society is engaged and all appear to be split, whether religious, cultural, or civic. As this debate has evolved, it is clear that there are genuine reasons for disagreement over what is the right thing to do for the good of all Bahamians. People of conscience, practical realists, economic realists, and nationalists all found a part of an argument that they could support. It is for that reason that the Free National Movement determined very early on that it would not seek to make this issue a political one. Our objective from the very beginning was to ensure that the process of enabling Bahamians to choose which course they preferred would best be achieved without the undue influence of party politics. Our position to the government was simple: get the process right. Educate and fully inform people. Make the process fair, and then we can leave it to the Bahamian people to make the best decision. Despite the fact that the FNM raised dozens of questions that the PLP government should have answered to the full satisfaction and confidence of Bahamian people, the Christie government made no meaningful efforts to answer those questions. Their initial bounded legal opinions and their half-hearted attempts to clarify issues only raised many more questions. People got a distinct impression that the Prime Minister was simply making things up as he went along. This is conduct unbecoming in a mature democracy. Despite the stated position that his government had not taken a position and had no horse in the race, everything the Prime Minister and his ministers did and said suggested the clear opposite. At every step of the way, the Christie government has conducted itself as if they were principal lobbyists and agents for a select group of web shop owners, particularly the ones who finance their general election and by-election campaigns. This incestuous relationship between the government and the top numbers men is deeply troubling to the FNM, and we said so every chance we got. Statements made by the Prime Minister and his ministers made it appear consistently that they were pushing these issues and designing it for the express purpose of paying back their financial backers, with little consideration as to what was truly in the best interest of the people. Because they knew the objective they wanted and needed to achieve, they paid little attention to the legitimate questions being raised about the details of how a legalized and regulated new system would work. By ignoring legitimate questions, the Christie government made no meaningful attempt to provide information to help people understand the full scope of what the new gambling regime would entail, and who would likely qualify to own and obtain web shop licenses. The government promised to produce draft regulations which would show exactly how the licensing system would be implemented. They have failed to do so. Their strategy appears to be keep the people in the dark about details, answer as few citizens' questions as possible, ignore the official opposition, and patronize the religious community, and the Bahamas Christian Council. Within the context of any national debate, one of the most important ingredients is a government that adds light and clarity and focus to that debate. Those ingredients enhance the process and ensure that the nation benefits from having an informed electorate on referendum day. In the absence of information, clarity, light, fairness, the people are left with confusion, doubt, distrust, and a general sense of being manipulated. That is where we are today. Given the tremendous lack of meaningful information, the government's incompetence, and legitimate questions about a corrupted process, the Free National Movement has concluded that it will recommend that the Bahamian people vote no on question number 1. We believe that the question appears to be fixed to enable the Christie government to do whatever it wants if the answer is yes. The FNM cannot give credence to a corrupted and fixed process. How can any law-abiding government seek to obtain a mandate from the people merely to regulate and tax an illegal enterprise? The dishonest question number 1 should properly have asked the people for a mandate, firstly to legalize these illegal gambling operations, then regulate and tax them. With respect to question number 2, while the Free National Movement in principle supports the establishment of a wholly state-owned national lottery, the absence of information from the Christie government as to specifically what they are proposing leaves far too many unanswered questions. To date, the statements made by the Prime Minister and his ministers suggest that as with the fixing of illegal web shops operations, their idea of a national lottery is one where their select group of web shop operators are again given a free hand to design a system that maximizes their returns while reducing the returns to the Bahamian people. Through the back door of a yes vote to the national lottery, the government would be able to fix up their web shop financial backers even in the event of a no vote on the fixed web shop question. In plain language, the Free National Movement does not trust the PLP government to establish and regulate a national lottery with clean hands. Every sweetheart deal that the FNM has exposed since May 2012 election serves as a reminder that the Bahamian people cannot feel safe giving the PLP a blank check. Because the Free National Movement and the Bahamian people have no clear understanding as to how the Christie government proposes to develop and implement a national lottery, and because of our fears that this will be another sweetheart deal for their select few, we will recommend the Bahamian people that they vote no on question number 2. Throughout this process, we have been asking the Prime Minister, why the rush? The Free National Movement sees no reason to rush. More specifically, more time is needed so that a responsible government can obtain the best advice and the best information on the positive and negative aspects of legalized gambling in all its forms, so that Bahamians can make an informed and educated choice based on facts and not upon say-so and emotions. The complex societal practice of playing numbers has matured into a sophisticated industry which encompasses telecommunications, banking, and internet casino gambling, racing, gaming, and lotteries, but which has the real possibility of supporting a number of illicit and undesirable activities, potentially including money laundering and loan sharking. The most important question remains unstudied and unanswered. What is the true extent of the social repercussions, family, financial, and social of gambling? Days away from the referendum, and we still have no idea what Pandora's box we are being asked to open by the Christie's government. The Central Council of the Free National Movement last night voted unanimously to support the recommendation of the party's executive committee that the party recommend that the Bahamian people vote no in respect of both questions in the upcoming referendum. Every officer of the FNM completely understands and respects that position. I have said on numerous occasions, we do not intend to tell the people how to vote. Every Bahamian should be guided by their conscience. We in the Free National Movement believe things must be done in decency and in order. By any objective measure, what we now have is a royal mess. This process has been rushed by the government. It is flawed, and it appears to be fixed. The only answer we should give on referendum day is a resounding no. Even for those who are inclined to vote in favor of the national lottery question, we urge you to give yourself a second chance. Vote no and send the Christie government back to the drawing board. Make them get this policy right. Dictate to them your commitment to sharing the national wealth. Vote no. There's far too much about these proposals that the Bahamian people do not know. And as the saying goes, if you don't know, vote no.
We will now entertain questions from the media.
Yes, Dr. Minnis, hi. I just want to know, because Dion's folks, he came out and he told the press that he's going to vote yes to a national lottery, and he's still undecided on regulating web shops. Just what would you say to those who may question if there's a divide in the party between the leadership in the executive committee and well-known FNM party members?
I don't think that's divided in the party, but at this particular time, I would offer no comments on comment in the newspaper. What I would say is, I look at the newspaper this morning, and I see headline, no vote would present dilemma. Prime Minister basically trying to tell the Bahamian people, listen, I'm telling you what I want you to vote. You must vote no. You must vote yes. Now, we're supposed to be a democratic society that Bahamians make choices. The Prime Minister also said that he did not close illegal web shops because they provide jobs. So does prostitution. They provide jobs. So does drugs. So do we invite all drug pushers to come? Bahamas is now a nation for sale, so we can push our drugs to the US because they provide jobs. Child pornography, illegal, but provide jobs. The Prime Minister endorsing that. Duplication and copyright, copying products, that's illegal, but it provides jobs. The knockoff bags that we've had in the past, the sale of those provide jobs. Robbery, a robber, that's his job. His job is to rob. He has a job, an illegal job. but the Prime Minister is saying he has a job. So is the Prime Minister essentially saying that the Bahamas is now a nation for sale once you can provide jobs? So any illegal entity out there, you are prepared to provide jobs. The Prime Minister is saying, come, we welcome you, that will solve our job problem. The Prime Minister is concerned about jobs. He said that they would have provided 10,000 jobs the first year. The FNM say to the Prime Minister, if he's concerned about these 3,000 jobs, which is incorrect, which was proven when we debated the matter in the House of Assembly, if we compare the jobs with the national insurance contribution, it don't correlate. So the Prime Minister is wrong in the number. The facts are there. But if he's that concerned, and he had promised the people 10,000 jobs, the FNM gives him permission to take 3,000 out of that 10,000 and deal with it. And he'll make it 7. He hasn't provided any yet. I'm also concerned with what the Prime Minister said with respect to BEC. The Prime Minister said that it makes no sense good sense, to hire more staff to deal with the overtime. I remind the Prime Minister that if he looks at health, there's a slew of overtime. If he looks at social service, there's a slew of overtime. If you look at education, there's a slew of overtime. Is the Prime Minister's remedy for overtime is just increase employment as opposed to analyzing the situation why they're overtime, as opposed to determining whether individuals are properly trained for what they're doing. If we take the Prime Minister's solution of just hiring, the Prime Minister is obviously ignoring Moody's report. He's not taking any precautious method. He's not prepared to take any, and he's prepared to send this country down a slippery path to financial disaster. We just debated a pension bill where it was determined that unless that is corrected, the Bahamas is in for serious financial complications 10, 20 years down the road. It's determined that the civil service has a pension plan which is pay as you go. In other words, the government pays out a consolidated fund. With all the baby boomers coming of age, and he wants to destroy the system with more hiring to decrease over time, what will happen is as these baby boomers come of age, their pension bill will increase, their consolidated payment will increase, their social services will subsequently increase, and the money is allotted for national security will decrease, the money is allotted for education will decrease. One of the Prime Minister's ministers said to him before he became minister, please, man, don't sit on your head, use it. I say the same thing, that applies. The Prime Minister must not sit on his head, because he's obviously not using it.
I'm sorry. I know in the House of Assembly and even in the media, we've been asking the Prime Minister to at least let us see the draft legislation that the former government put together, and that the government said that they made amendments to or critiqued a little. What do you say to the fact that it's 2 weeks away and we have yet to see draft legislation, and a lot of educated voters would like to see that before making a decision?
I say 2 things to you. 1, join the crowd. All right? And 2, I want you to understand clearly that the reason we're saying no here, we have said, Prime Minister, before, that there should be an independent commission whose responsibility is to educate the public so that they would know what they're voting on. This is how it's done in the first world, and that's democracy. The FNM was built on transparency, accountability, honesty, and democracy. That is transparency and democracy. We've asked that that commission likewise be responsible to ensure proper time frame for the educational process. They would also ensure that the question is non-ambiguous and clearly understood by the public. Because you are asking us to vote on an issue that can have great ramifications tomorrow on our young people, be it positive or negative. We must know, because you can't ask me to make a decision on something I don't know. That is unfair, that is not democracy, that is how dictators behave. That is not democracy. At the same time, you asked that the commission would also have reviewed regulations would have been out in advance. Because you cannot come out with regulations afterwards. Then you can have your regulations tailor-made so as to fit one or two who you want. But we want transparency to ensure that regulations can incorporate any and every member of the Bahamian population who want to enter business. That's fair and transparency. On the basis of that not being done, the government must do one of two things. Either you delay the process so that that can be done, and if it's not delayed, then you must vote no, so that it can be done properly.
So that's not the proposing that the government go this process and just put it in
What they're doing is wrong. The whole process is flawed. You cannot ask. The question is something. You look at the question. Should the government regulate, should gaming or web shop be regulated and taxed? All right? If you answer yes, then you've said yes, tax the web shop. If you answer no, you say no, don't tax them, but let them proceed. That's not a fair question. You need clarity, and that is why you should have an independent, non-partisan commission who ensures transparency. That's how it's done in first world country. We call ourselves first world, but yet we still practice as fourth world.
Is the FNM going to sort of ban the vote no committee now, or are you just going to do your own thing?
No. The FNM, I have stated the position, I have stated how I arrived at no. I've stated that we want the public to be educated so that they can make a decision that would affect us in the future in an educated manner and from a basis of knowledge. In the absence of not knowing what you're voting for, in the absence of not knowing the regulations, in the absence of not having proper time frame, the Prime Minister himself, when we had referendum before, the Prime Minister said you needed at least 6 months of education. Suddenly, you don't need any. The educational system, the grade level, the average grade level at that time was D. It hasn't changed since then. So you needed 6 months then. Nothing, no time now. I mean, the educational system has not changed. We don't suddenly, yesterday you were D, and the day now we're all Einsteins. It hasn't happened.
Dr. Minnis, what do you say to the Prime Minister's comments about it being too expensive to shut the web shops down ahead of the
Listen, the Prime Minister said earlier, he's bringing a referendum, the public said no, he would shut them down. Yes, carry on. I would think the Prime Minister would make responsible statements. That if he knows that if the answer is going to be no, he knows what he has to do. Don't come months later and try to find some Mickey Mouse excuse.
Dr. Minnis, do you believe the government is kind of banking on this whole being, or the vote being yes, because they need, I guess, the tax money, or that they need, do you think that that's what they need in order for the employment numbers to remain the same and for tax? What do you think?
It's quite obvious that the government has no idea how to create jobs. So the government is inviting all the drug dealers, the prostitution, pornographers, all illegal entities to come to bring the jobs. So even investors, if you have an illegal transaction, come, you're going to provide jobs for a nation for sale. You went through that in the 80s. And here it is in 2000, the Prime Minister will take us back.
The Christian Council has said that we'll be the laughing stock of the world if we allow this bill to be passed, or this referendum to be passed in favor of gambling. and we allow the current web shop owners who've been operating for years illegally to continue this practice. Is that something that you agree with?
Well, the Christian Council has made that statement. I'm sure they know why they made that statement. I will reserve my comment on the Christian Council statement. But what I would say, I want you to remember, is that the PLP government reminds me a lot. I listened to the song by Otis Redding, Dreams to Remember. They sold a lot of dreams, we bought it. And now we've awoken. Remember Otis Redding's song, Dreams, Dreams, Dreams to Remember. We bought the dream about mortgage. We bought the dream about employment. We bought the dream about implementation of national health insurance. But those are dreams, like Otis Redding said, we will always remember. And the PLP and the Prime Minister, we will always remember. So the Prime Minister is like Otis Redding, and he's singing songs of dreams to the people.
Dr. Minnis, you've made a lot of mention about how this affects the democracy of the country. Are there any laws that you're aware of that would prevent, if there is a no vote, that would prevent the government from doing this process all over again? Is it then taken off the table forever, or is this something that can be done?
No, we have said that the whole process was wrong and the government proceed. All we're saying is do it right. Do it right. Complete fair play, transparency, don't tailor-made anything. Educate me so that I know exactly what I'm voting for, because it can have positive or negative impact on my country 10, 20 years from now. Bring non-ambiguous question that is not politically driven, all right, so that the public understands it. Have proper time frames so that the educational process can occur. He himself, as I said, a year ago or years ago, felt that you needed 6 months. Suddenly you don't need any time.
Dr. Minnis, you were talking about the economy earlier. We also have a survey in favor of the government will have to borrow an additional $150 million, adding to our deficit.
We'll comment on that at another time. Okay?
Ladies and gentlemen from the press, thank you very much. This concludes the press conference.